Okay, we are on air. I could see just the picture for you guys right now. Can you guys see me?
Yes.
All right. All right. I see you guys. Okay. Well, I see Andre. I see you. And it's Andre, right? Am I saying that right? It
Yeah,
looks like.
yeah.
Okay, cool. No, dude.
Like here, yeah, here in Brazil, you say André.
Andre. Okay,
Yeah,
I think.
but you can call me André. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can try to remember, see how it goes. Then you can correct me. Like, no, dude, it's not that.
It's like André Iguodala. André.
Iguodala. Okay.
Yeah. It's from André Iguodala is from the Golden State Warriors basketball team.
Um, I don't know. Sorry. I don't know basketball. I'm pretty lousy with sports in general. Um, I, yeah, maybe. Let's see. All right, Joe, you're on. I'm still talking to Nick in the Slack. He says he's saying live stream is starting soon.
Okay.
Let's see. Joe is on. Joe, did you click the link in the email, or did you click the link in? Well, yeah, I guess in the email, right?
Yeah, I clicked on the email link.
All right. I'm trying to figure out how to join. Joe, did you have any problems getting on, or you clicked the
No, not
link?
at all. No.
Okay. Nick's
What
the
link is he using? It's not the
the,
YouTube one, right?
the email that I sent out. Make sure. Uh, okay. Resending to the other. I just invite him from here. This is my first time doing the Hangout streaming thing, so I'm gonna noob it up pretty good.
Yeah, I've never used it. I always use Zoom.
Well, does Zoom do YouTube too?
No, but it saves it as an MP3 and MP4 files.
And you can always just upload it that way. All right. All right. Well, while Nick's getting ready, I guess we could start since we're on broadcasting now and it's like dead air and it's all sorts of interesting. All right. Hey, Nick's up there.
There we go. Okay.
Hey, Nick.
And
All right. So Team Steel's here. Okay. So this is formally our first broadcast.
Hey.
I guess we do the online introduction first, and let's get started. Who wants to go first? All right, I'll go first. Okay, so my name is Terrence, and I didn't write a long drawn-out email, I don't think, but from starting out, I own a small software development consulting company. We are currently 2 people. I'm mostly doing contract and project work with .NET, .NET with Xamarin, mostly C Sharp, and ASP.NET, as well as some Node.js and general like JavaScript framework stuff, mainly Angular right now. Honestly, I'd like to do something crazy like just do something in Elm, but I feel like client work, if you want people to support it after the fact, if for some reason that needs to happen, it might make things a little difficult. I also dig F# as well. Again, be fun to do like programming like in these languages as my primary, but I feel like marketability not so much. In addition, I also have 2 products. One that is out, and I need to talk to my channels for distributing it. It's called Swarm Toolkit. It has to do with e-learning technologies. It's supposed to make working with this technology called Swarm, which has been around since I think the 90s. It's been one of those things that's been around, and it's a government thing, and it's by virtue just that much more complicated than it needs to be. But it's supposed to make that easier. And the other thing I'm working on is something I did this a couple of weeks ago at Startup Weekend, which is a thing where you pitch a product, you do a MVP, and you just kind of you go in front of a group of judges and they say yay or nay. So it's a combination of I forget the technical term, but it's essentially just a Echo platform for working with older, we'll say, older folks that may potentially need the support via either like help with taking medications, help with getting rides, help with ordering groceries. Essentially, it's going to be a platform for interacting only through the Amazon Echo for the person in care, and then the caretakers would be able to access a web-based UI that they can schedule these things and manage these things. So it's like there's a web piece for administration, and then there's the user side, which is only the Echo. Anyway, so I think that's all there is for me. I've been in business for about a year officially on my own, and I have a little 7-year-old, and I'm not married, so say what you will about that. And I also take care of my mom, so I own this house, pay the mortgage and everything, and I take care of the family. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's me, Terrence Smith, Hacker Ferret software owner. Nice to meet y'all. All right.
Can we ask questions, Terrence? Or I'll probably wait, because I'm just curious to know how you came up with the idea for the Amazon Echo. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's funny, you go to these things. I went expecting maybe some client work and some networking opportunity, and I thought, well, I got to think of something to work on. And I had my Echo, and I've been wanting to code on it for a while. It's one of those things. It's like, all right, I have a billion other things to do, but I want to do something with this. And I think, well, what cool thing could I do for this? And then I was like, well, medications. All right, we'll start with that. That sounds like a reasonable thing. I think I picked it up because somebody else was talking about it. I'm like, hey, they were going to do a web app. Why don't I just do this with the Echo? And then somebody came up to me and said, you could do so much more than that. You could, and of course, it's like, I just want something to hack on. And they're, giving me ideas like crazy. And it's like, oh, you could do this with it. You could do that with it. Yeah. So I just went with it. And that's how it started. Essentially just something to hack on, and then grew from there.
Cool. I like it.
Thanks.
So I guess I'll go next. I'm
All
Joe.
right.
Joe Calantonio. As you can tell, I'm probably older than most of you. So I work full-time for GE, but I work remotely. And what I do is I've been blogging for six years. So I blog about what I do at work. So basically whatever I learn at work, I just make content and I blog about it. I also have a podcast that I also talk about the same stuff for about 2 years. It's called Test Talks. And I just started an online conference called Automation Guild, which is going to be an online conference dedicated 100% to automation testing. So that's my deal.
Quick.
Yep.
So I'll go next. My name is Andre. I'm from Brazil. And right now, at the moment, I'm doing consultancy work for a big telecom company here in Brazil. So my contract is about to finish next year in January, February, something like that. But I always have this fire inside of me, this entrepreneurship fire, So, but I never, I never advanced in my ideas. So after I started to listen to, guys like John Somens, Neil Patel, and so on, those marketing guys. And so this fire started to grow inside of me, and then I was like, I have to do something about it. I have to build some product. I have to build my company, and that's what I'm here for. Like,
Awesome.
Cool.
Can I ask one other question, Andre? Sorry. You mentioned something about Brazil being really a hotbed for technology. And I'm just curious to know, well, I guess I can ask questions later. I'm just curious to know if you see value in someone transcribing their content into Portuguese or Spanish or whatever language is predominant.
It's funny that you've mentioned this, because I've already thought about this, I already thought in like something like John Somens, and says, John, can I transcribe your how to market yourself as a software developer course and launch here in Brazil in Portuguese? So it's like, in some researches, they say that there are 300,000 developers here in Brazil.
Wow.
Because we are a 200 million plus population, So, yeah.
Cool. I didn't know that.
The short answer, yes.
Yeah. It's a way I can follow. It's a path I can follow, I believe.
Yeah, definitely good to have options.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll go next. I'm Nick Lodeholtz. Nice to meet y'all. Been a software developer for, like 18 years now, something like that. I've always kind of walked an unusual path in that I've worked for big companies but never enjoyed it, so I enjoy working with smaller companies. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I started working with a bunch of different startups and just really, really enjoyed it, and like the freedom that it gives you in terms of just less, corporate structure. Oh, you have to commute into the office, that kind of thing. So earlier this year, I tried to launch a sort of a consultancy full time, but for reasons that didn't quite work out, and actually wound up in working for a rather large company now. So I'm kind of there and sort of using that to bide my time and sort of build up a skill set / product that I think I could parlay into more freedom, for lack of a better term. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Tiny nutshell.
Inside, literally.
Yeah.
That's a good tactic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did it. Oddly enough, I did it a couple of years ago at a different job. I was working for the government, and I was there for about 6 years. And in that time, managed to finish my degree and do a whole bunch of side hacking type issues. And it was great because all they cared about was that you put in your however few hours per day you could minimally get away with, and then you could do whatever you want. And so I'm kind of looking at this new company as, hey, maybe this is a part 2. I could do this again and build something interesting. So,
Nick, you're mainly a Python guy? Is that
yes. Right? Yeah. I switched from Java. I was doing Java forever, it seemed like. And then about 2011 or so, switched over to Python, and I've been doing that full time since.
Awesome.
So,
cool.
Yeah, really love it.
Yeah, Python guy here also.
Sweet. Anything but Java at this point,
right.
Or C.
Yeah, I used to work with Java in the past, and I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I tell you, I do it with a little bit of Android, and that's the little bit I deal with. It's interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Android is interesting. I wound up camping out at a company last summer for about a month while they were building an app for the company I was working for, and it was weird looking over their shoulder because I was like, I recognize that piece, but that piece there, that makes no sense, and what, it's just craziness. So.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, there's a lot of weirdness. Like, I won't get too deep, but I will say, so you can't use enums, like just enum is. But there's this whole big thing, like enums in Java. Like, Google that and just mind blown. The amount of workaround, because it's oh my god. Anyway, that I won't get too much into it, but it's, you want to laugh? That'll give you a laugh.
Yeah. Oh wow.
But anyway, so all right, so we did introductions. I guess what we do, questions now. So now, Joe, I think now's a good time for questions, I suppose.
So, Terry, how do you mainly sell your software? Is it all online? How do you get the word out that you have a product available?
So at this point, I'm having a problem with that. Right now, I've got partnerships. So I've done a good bit of customer research on the individual customers that would likely buy the product. I've talked to them, kind of determined what level they are with the technical expertise, and tried to figure out the best way to market to them. As of right now, it's kind of in limbo, getting a proper marketing pitch. But I do have the data, and I guess I'm kind of trying to get a little bit more data to solidify my assumptions. So there's like, for one of my product that I do have out, there's 3 potential user groups. One's a more system admin type, a technical trainer type, and a content provider type. And really the content makers or content provider are the likely ones to use it the most, but they're the ones at the same time that I have to convince the hardest. So because it's such a niche thing, it makes things harder. If you're doing something that's more B2C or even like less niche, like if I wanted to market to all developers that use this, I can make a lot more assumptions about, or a lot more safe assumptions about what they know and what their jargon, their language, domain language du jour, or what have you, about what they can and can't do and what they know and don't know. So that's been a pain point for me, to be honest with you. With this other product, that problem is almost non-existent. The biggest thing is telling people what Neko is, and you show them a 5-minute video, and that usually gets them.
Right.
So yes, that is a pain, but I've partnered with the bigger leaders in the industry. Hopefully they can get me a little bit more. So stand on the shoulders of giants. They've been really helpful because I'm not directly competing with them. I'm kind of like enhancing their product a little bit.
Yep.
So I've been leveraging their market analysis and their people, and it's been kind of weird because they're all very technical and they're very biased in their belief sets. And it's like, well, I want to do this. It's like, but our product's awesome already. And it's like, well, that's what you think. But I don't agree with you. So it's been a challenge. TLDR, it's been a challenge. Leverage all your connections, leverage everybody who's already done it. Talk to who you need to, talk to everybody else, go on LinkedIn, talk. That's the best thing.
Now this is for SCORM, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yep. SCORM.
Is it a software as a service, or is it an add-on to something someone already has that you would come in and enhance it?
Yeah. So SCORM is a technology standard in the same way that HTTP would be considered, except for it's specific to e-learning.
Yeah.
So if you want to make an online course, like let's say one of those, you've worked in, Nick, like if you worked in the government at any given time, at any amount of time, you've had to take some hour-long or 30-minute long, like a posh course, or yeah. So all the evil things that come out of that are SCORM. A lot of them are SCORM based. So sorry, but all those online courses that you have to take for your job and things are that. So it's what essentially determines how the data is communicated about the status of the user. So like if I took the course and I failed it, it would be able to tell me how long the course was, how long did it take me, what my status was, when my last launch time was, and that I failed it. So, and you can probably get more info. I mean, you could definitely get more info than that, but that's essentially the main info that people code around or standardize. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. So I don't know who you would sell to. You would sell to people that actually have a product, and that this is an enhancement for it.
Right. So it's people who have, because it is a difficult thing to start or set up. Typically requires somebody who has some special knowledge about what it is and how to set it up and what to do with it. SCORM Cloud is the provider that I'm coding around right now. They're the largest provider of SCORM courses. They essentially came into the market and made it a lot easier. It's not 100% like fail-safe, but they've kind of like maybe 10 years ago did this. and they just kind of stopped. I mean, not to say that they don't continue to support it, but they're literally like line in the sand. Like they made it easier for 10 years ago, and then it's kind of stagnated. So I've been on the other end of that. I've been the guy having to learn how to implement the stuff, and the other end, learn the API, the specs, the standards, what have you. And I've wrote a bunch of tools to communicate the data to my project manager, to my training team that I work with, and to other LMS admins, et cetera, to get that out there faster. And that's something that, well, I've been working on for a year. It's about done. It's like I might as well polish this thing up and send it out and see what happens. So
Nice.
Ship it.
Yeah.
So SCORM is like an e-learning platform like Moodle or OpenEDX, something like that?
Well, Moodle uses Storm. So you think of it like the same way you think of like HTTP. It's just a way of communicating data back and forth. It has some standard types of like things that are standard about it, like your status codes and things. But it's across platforms, like a lot of different learning management systems like Moodle or EDX or I can't think of any right now, but a lot of those types use under the covers use that. Or if you look at lynda.com, a lot of their stuff runs on that. Or if you ever use Open Sesame, it's more of the corporate side of things, but the same deal. They use it. So it's a standard that's been around a long time, and it was put forth by DARPA, the U.S. government, and it's just kind of proliferated.
I see.
Yep. So, hey, enough about me. So, like, all right, Joe, you do test. You're hardcore into automated testing, test management. Test. What is your stack? What is your stack du jour as far as coding?
Well, the frameworks I usually use Java. That's where I usually get the most information from. And I love Python on the side for other tasks that I try to do that aren't so heavy but don't need to fit into the developer's ecosystem. I do it all in Python. Wow. So I try to use the same tools the developers use.
Maybe there's something I don't know here, like Python. I don't know.
You should learn.
Yeah, Python's awesome. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's basically pseudocode that you can execute, which is just awesome.
Yeah. The level of abstraction that Python provides, it's amazing.
Yep. With just a few lines of code, if I was to write in Java, it'd be crazy. But like in Python, it's like 3-4 lines. They have add-ins for everything, for what I do. Yeah. So, I mean, it does a lot of things for formatting things, like beautiful soap, and it does a lot of cool formatting, which you need for testing. So I can parse a lot of log files and generate custom reports with it. So it does a lot of cool things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I've used a little bit, I will say. I've used some for a hackathon, but it's like you're on a team. You do what the team knows, and I had to do some SDK work or whatever with Twitter, and I got to say, it was like,
yeah.
But it kept throwing me because I'm so used to strongly typed stuff, and the non-strongly typed is JavaScript. Like, hey, I don't really give a crap what your type is. You just give me something. So it took me a little bit to like, no, wait, that's not right. I don't understand. So it's a little weird for me because I'm all C# is basically like, it's a lot like Java. So inheritance and multiple inheritance chains and like.
I actually like C# better than Java for whatever reason. Just because I'm older. I started off with Microsoft and Visual Basic, so I'm used to Visual Studio. So that's why.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I am a little biased, right? But I've had to do both, and a little bit of Java, and a lot of C#, and I miss the hell out of C#. I'm like, oh my gosh, why can't I? Link, where are you? Or lambda expressions. Although to be fair, you guys are getting those in Java, but so. That's the thing. And then you guys list, I guess the equivalent would be, what is it? List
comprehensions.
List comprehensions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are nice. Yeah.
Nice.
When they're not abused, they're nice.
All right. All right. So, what's everybody's goals? Like, what is the main thing you want to get out of doing this? I'll start. So, I want to bring my company from a kind of almost hobby level is what this feels like. It's like I'm making money, I'm eating, I'm not dying here, I'm surviving, but I'd like to bring it to the point where my product is actually, I have a product that is making me money and enough to support me, and
bills.
enough to take off my work. That's where I'm at.
I guess for me, just to actually got a what was this, the Best Self Journal, and I'm looking back at what I wrote down. It was like to launch a business that generates revenue, and that's very specific. But yeah, I think my main goal is to get something going so that I have a secondary stream of income, which can open up other opportunities. Because right now I feel like, choices are kind of limited because, you got a family, so, you got to look out for them. So you can't do anything too crazy, but at the same time, you got to grow in some way, shape, or form. So I think a little bit of extra grease on the wheels will make other things easier. So that's, I got a million ideas. And I think for this group, I'm just looking for a combination of like accountability to make sure I follow through and finish the things, and then also just a good sounding board to make sure I'm not doing something completely, I don't want to say crazy, but if you've got three choices, making sure you make the choice that moves you forward instead of just the one that's easy or the one that's fun, that type of accountability. So that's it for me, I think.
Yeah.
Accountability sounds like a good idea too.
Yes.
Yeah, my main goal, it's like, as I said, it's to build a business and can make a living of that, So it's like since I started to work remotely, when I go to the customer or when I go to the company's office, man, it's terrible for me,
I feel that pain. I know that one.
It's like I'm not used to this anymore, And this I'm kind of feel a little bit of freedom, working remotely, so I'm doing my time, doing my tasks, and not to I don't have to report to my boss every time, so I like that. Yeah. So, yep.
Yeah, I agree. I have a pretty good gig at GE. I worked remotely for 10 years, and I can't imagine going to work in an office again. I would kill myself. So that's one of my goals. It's like I cannot, if I ever get laid off or if I ever lose this gig, I want to go full time, and I don't want to work for an office again. I want to work for myself. And I guess one of my main challenges right now is all my income, which is pretty good, comes from sponsorship. So I could lose it at any time. So I'm trying to find ways to monetize, have a product or something where I can generate income that I can push and market for and not have to worry about a sponsor dropping me any minute. And so I started writing a course for Pluralsight. I have that on my first course and the online conference. So those are my first two attempts to really generate income other than sponsor income.
Nice.
And I just need accountability, people to talk to. No one knows what I'm talking about half the time around. I don't have anyone that does this. So marketing ideas, someone to say something doesn't make sense or give me, just something to bounce ideas off is really, I think, the biggest benefit. So I've never done a mastermind before. So I think this will be really helpful.
It's funny that you mentioned that because like John Summon said in one of his past videos that he went to some marketing conference, something like that, and he mentioned because those are my people right now. So not the technical people, the marketing people.
Yep.
And then I was like, man, this is very true because when we start to talk marketing with a developer, especially the guys who are really technical, into technical stuff, they're like, no, what is that, man? What a crap are you talking about? Something like that. I tried this here with some people.
Yep.
And those guys are like, oh man, no. Get out of that.
Yep.
Learn some new JavaScript framework that comes out last week.
Yep.
Yeah, when I started my current full-time gig, I went from like a 3-person startup, and now I'm working for Turner Broadcasting, if you know who they are.
Yep.
And like the first week or two in the job, I asked the question. I'm like, well, what's the what's the benefit? What do we, by creating this? What is what are we selling to the client? What's the business value? And all the developers just kind of looked at me like, business value? And I'm like, yeah, how do we make money? And, I'm bringing up points. I'm like, hey, we can bring costs down. And they're like, well, we don't really care about that. I'm like, yeah, but we don't generate revenue. So if we bring costs down, we don't get fired at the end of the year, things like that. And people look at me like, wow, you're bitter. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just realistic.
There's this post going around, your job as a programmer is not to write code. I forget the.
Yeah.
I'm screwing up the name. No doubt. That's something that I've run into, even with like the freelancing community.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it, believe it or not, it's like, no, we just want to make this thing. It's like, dude, like you can make this thing, but they're not gonna. There's no actual value add for the customer at all. Like I say, I want to make crazy languagey stuff with whatever X thing and just for fun, but like, no, dude, that wouldn't provide any extra value to the client. It'd be harder for them to maintain.
Yeah.
And things like that, you have to actually explain to people. It's like, no, dude, you don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there are cases where you can, but for the most part, don't do that.
Yeah, I have to explain it to myself sometimes, because I spent like 2 weeks writing a Flask front end for my little API service that I'm writing. And then when I was all done, I realized I wanted to change some of the text. And I was like, oh man, if I was using WordPress, I could just go in and edit that and publish. And I'm like, oh man, I got to redeploy a container now. I'm like, oh, I have screwed up. I went down the happy path for me and not the profitable path. So yeah.
I tell you what, some of the devs I've worked with, like I say WordPress and they go, no. It's like, dude, it's. But at the same time, they will have 100 hours on building their site to make it shiny or whatever, and it's like JavaScript framework. I forget what they use. I think they might use React because, of course, right?
It's the hotness, yeah.
Because it's trendy right now.
It's just so painful, and it's like I'm on another planet here. It's like, don't you know how much that just cost you just so you could write it in React?
Mm-hmm.
And their bosses are cool with it because they're devs too, and like it's a dev shop.
Yeah.
I think the WordPress could have done that in like a couple hours, and so what? It's amazing, but it works. It does what you need.
Exactly. And like for this one here, I know what it was. I wanted to add in a payment page. And so I went and looked up the tutorial, like how does Stripe do this and how does this get in here? And that was when I realized I was halfway down the spiral, and I'm like, I need to pull up out of this. And I was like, if I had a WordPress site, I could probably just drop a plugin in and be done. And oddly enough, Terrence, I said the same thing to somebody at work, and he went, WordPress, PHP. And I'm like, Facebook runs on PHP. They've made a few dollars, I think. So yeah, it's probably okay.
I have to confess something. I used to be like that, like.
Oh no, I was too. I was. Yeah.
I blog since 2010. So I started my blog in andrealmar.wordpress.com. Free domain, things like that. Then bought my domain, and then I started to jump into JQ, and then Pelican, and then Hugo, which uses Go, and then I was like, man, I'm more focused on like setting the technical stuff than the content. And then I went back to WordPress. So yeah, I'm get rid of this, and this kind of.
I think it's a growth thing. I think we've reached these I don't want to say plateaus, but we've reached these walls. And like you said, hey, my job's not to code. My job's to create a product that I can sell or someone would sign up for. And I think that's awesome. That we seem to have all made that realization.
Yeah, true.
The problem now is to execute. I mean, I love getting caught up in ideas for products. Again, it started, but now when I have to execute something, I'm like, oh gosh, now I have to really do the work, right?
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, for me, when I when I come with an idea and then I sit in front of the computer and I was like, man, I have to execute this.
Yep.
And then this idea starts to become some kind of a monster. Grows, going. I was like, oh man, I'm terrified of that. And then I procrastinate, and then I find some other idea. So this is very upsetting.
And then you think about the first one, and then I get really bummed out. It's like, oh my gosh, I had this thing, failure, and it's just another thing. It's like not buying another book that you never finish reading.
Right.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. It's like when I started to listen to John Summons talking about specializing, I was like, man, this guy's crazy. It's like, I don't know how it is in the US. I worked in Australia back in 2012, and there you have, it's like in a work environment, you do just one thing, you know? But here in Brazil is different. You do a lot of things. So you're a kind of a specialist / generalist, you know? So you have to set up a service. It's like a full stack. Everybody here is a full stack. You know?
That's right.
That's why when it's like some of my Brazilian colleagues go to work overseas, they do really well because they are used to do old stuff, you know. So and the company starts to value this. Oh man, you don't just do like front end development in Angular 1.5. You do everything. You can set up Docker and DigitalOcean Droplet. You can do deploy on Heroku and this and that. So it's like when I listen to John Summers talking about this specialization thing, it's like it still is very, very hard for me. It's like if I choose Python, okay, Python is very broad, very generic. So I need to specialize in something inside the Python ecosystem. And I was like, man, I was stuck with this for the rest of my life. I don't think so. I'm a little bit afraid of that, you know, still.
Yep.
Well, hey, I'm in the same boat because I took his blogging course earlier this year. I'd already kind of resolved to sort of write a blog post a week this year, and I was doing that. And then I took his course and saw that he said the same thing. But for the niching down thing, exact same boat. I was like, oh, well, Python's too general. Let me pick Flask. And so I just said, hey, I'm the Flask guy, not realizing there's like 15 other folks out there who are the Flask guy, who have like books on O'Reilly. They've got, web-based seminars you can sign up for and stuff like that. So I just told myself I'm picking something and moving forward, and I'll change in 6 months if I have to.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the point though, just so you can expand on that after though? Like you need niche down until you get a base, and then you can broaden out. That's what John did, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Testing, then development. Now he's like a life coach, so it keeps expanding it once he gets a base down for the audience and everything.
Yeah, I think so. And I tried to do that for a while there because some of the things I was running into at work were really unusual, like edge cases that nobody talks about in tutorials. So I tried to, sort of expand on those. Hey, here's my experience with dealing with cloud machines that don't have enough RAM, and things like that. And it's sort of it's still in the Python realm, but it's not in the Flask realm. It's like, this could be applied anywhere. So maybe I'm still searching for my niche. That's probably what the moral of the story there is. So.
Well, I'm right there with you guys too. I live in the country, kind of. I live in Prosperity, South Carolina, and I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, but there are a lot of .NET positions and a lot of .NET work, and it's like I can do this part of it, I could do that part of it, and there's nobody. It's hard to find local work that way. I guess if I expanded and went completely remote and completely distance work, and just kind of changed my approach altogether and just did this one thing, maybe. But I'm in the same boat. I mean, I'm trying to be the e-learning guy for SCORM, this thing, and it's kind of working out. Not yet. We're wait and see, I guess, at this point. But it's hard. It's really flipping hard to do that. Anyway.
That's frustrating. That's why I started my conference thinking almost like a lottery ticket. I'm gonna get 1,000 users. I'm gonna pay off my mortgage, and I'm gonna live off 90,000 after the mortgage paid. But I only have like 106 people signed up now. So I'm like, what the heck? That's not going to work. So, you need to stick with it and just build on it, I guess. It's a slow process.
There it is. There it is.
But you got somebody to give you money, so that's impressive.
Right, that's
I've
true.
gotten nobody to give me money.
Right, that's a good sign.
You're my hero at the moment.
There's a thing, trust the process, right?
Right, yeah,
Yes.
really.
There it is. Terrible at that too. Gotta work on that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a leap of faith, I think, sometimes, that, am I on the right path? That kind of thing. So
What's even like, is it even feasible? Can I even make enough money to replace my real full-time job? It gets frustrating. Like, obviously it is, because everyone on Entreprogrammers is doing it. So
yeah.
And this whole specialization thing, it's funny because like I just met a guy yesterday here that I found out that he makes 600,000 reais, which is about today $200,000, selling 300 courses on SVG.
Huh.
Wow. SVG.
Wow.
And I was like, what? I'm gonna make a course on GIF or JPEG or PNG. And he made a lot of money doing like SVG from the beginning to the end. How to work with SVG, how to make SVG. And I was like, man, there is really a niche for that. And he's like, yeah, I just quit my job. And
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite along those lines is I heard about this guy who he would look at weather forecasts and he wondered if the weather forecaster was accurate or not. So he wrote a script that would go and pull the forecast for one day, and then the next day would go and pull what the weather actually was, and he sells that. So people can go and look up to see specific weather people to see if they are, how accurate they are. And this dude is making like 6 or 7 figures a year doing that. And he's just publicly scraping data.
Yeah.
And he gave a conference talk about it, and I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that?
Wow.
So it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
It's just I don't understand how to do it.
This is really think out of the box.
Yeah.
Well, I know someone in my niche, they have something called Ministry of Testing. It's testing. That's all it is. They make $80,000 a month, and I have no idea how they're making $80,000 a month doing on testing. Like it's such a small niche that I can't picture anyone, but I mean, she's really crushing it. So I saw that thinking, man, I mean, I can definitely do at least half that, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Why can't I do that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy. So it's good to know that, like, even if it seems like a niche that you don't think anyone would be interested in, you'd be surprised that someone is making money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
40,000 a month. That's not much. That's not much to ask for.
Oh,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll take half of that. I can live off that. So what's everyone's plans for the next step then in your business? Next actionable thing you think you could do to go to the next level?
All right. Well, my next step in progress is to do more promotions and partnerships. I have a couple of companies that I'm also going to present my product to, and maybe I can get some of that affiliate or partnership kind of set up. It's not really big steps though, but probably blog more. I know I could do that. Otherwise.
How much traffic do you currently get a month?
Not a lot. Maybe a couple thousand visitors a month. I've kind of fallen off since I've started the company. It's been a lot harder to, well, like I used to do exactly what you guys were talking about before. With you have a job. Whenever something happens in the job, or whenever you have a coworker that asks a question, write a blog post, and that was definitely what a lot. Like I got like 50, 60 posts on like from that. And a thing about working for yourself is you kind of, I don't intend to be, but I'm kind of on an island a little bit. So on the one hand, I still occasionally do the Stack Overflow answer type thing, but it's not the same thing as actually talking to someone and answering their question. So that's something I gotta, and then with a focus on like the e-learning piece. So that would be going back to niching down. I guess that's going to be my niche down attempt. And so write more on SCORM, answer people's questions, do videos, stuff like that.
Yeah, I understand where you come from. That's why I'm afraid to leave my job, because I blog about what I do. So if I leave what I do, then what do I do once I don't do that?
Right.
So it's like,
well, I will say I've got a couple off of user groups too. Like,
that's true.
you know, you go to user groups or you go to Facebook groups or something like that. I think Google groups, if you do the Google Plus thing, you see the common questions and you answer them, and then you just drop it in whenever they say, hey, how do I, you know, like you go to 2600, you know, hacker whatever, and then how do I hack things? And it's like, you know, you usually get the troll, like, but you just drop in your intro to A, B, and C, and it actually does really well. Even though they're new questions, but dang. that's all I got.
Hey, Terrence, are there any like blog aggregators where there's one website that keeps track of all the blogs that are in your industry or in your niche?
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's a couple of ones. I don't know if they're that popular that I use. I go to the Code Project. Now, they're not at first a blog aggregator, but you can. You just have that like an affiliate link or something like that on the site, and it will pull in to their RSS feed, and they will add you there, and then add a copy of it to their site. A lot of guest posting platforms like that. Depending on your niche, absolutely, I'm sure there is.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I ask is because on my blog, I was getting the crushing workload of 5 visitors a day. And I was doing that for months and months, and like you were saying, you know, trust the process. I was like, okay, and then one day I discovered that there's planetpython.org, I think it is, and they're on GitHub, and you can make a pull request to add a resource to that. So I was like, why not? Let me add my. The next day, I got a crush of traffic like I'd never seen, like 300 visitors in one day. And since doing that, every time I publish something, I just get a tidal wave of visitors. Well, a tidal wave for me is like 300-400 visitors in a single day. Actually, it's been under 400, but still, I've just consistently now get over 40-50 visitors a day. So, which has been really useful because there were certain blog posts I'd written, and now I can see which ones are actually popular because they're actually, I'm getting statistical significance. So. That's just a little hack. I don't know if a lot of people know, so I wanted to make sure that you knew about that in terms of helping to get your name out there a little bit.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's got me up from nothing for sure. And the best blog posts, well, it's hit or miss because I guess it's the content. But if you do something soft skill related, like the intro to development, if you're coming out of college or something like that, and that did amazing. That was like my best of the year, and it was nothing to do with the tech. It was more like, hey, this is what's out here if you're in this area.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the kind of thing I wanted to write about, but I did answer someone's question. So,
well, my first hit when I did that aggregator thing was a blog post. I didn't know this was going to happen, or I might have done this a little differently, but the blog post was called Debugging Like Elon Musk. And I mean, it's so BuzzFeedy, but
clickbait.
It just
Clickbait,
exactly.
yeah.
And I wasn't intending that. And a couple people like kind of griped at me about it. I'm like, oh, whatever. But I got to right now it says I've had 880 hits this year on that. But then a couple weeks later, I wrote another one called 6 Quick Python Debugging Tips, just because at work there were these, oh, you didn't know about this? Oh, I didn't know about that. So I just, hey, I need a post real quick. Let me just slam something together. I did that, and that one's gotten like almost 1,800 views, and it's only like 3 weeks old, I think. So it's my number 2 post of the year. So it's just funny how generic things like that can sometimes get you a ton of attention, and that one seems to have legs. People actually have been asking really good questions and stuff on that. So
yeah, I'm gonna say listicles, right? They're called the BuzzFeed.
Right.
Yeah, they're amazing. right?
Always swore I'd never do that, and here I am, like, oh, I got hits. You know.
Well,
Actually, Nick, I checked out your site, and that's the first thing I clicked on was the Elon Musk one. I'm like, whoa!
Oh, nice.
Click.
Yeah. Oh well. Joe, you asked a question. I'll throw an answer out real quick. Like the next steps for moving things forward. For me, it's going to be dynamiting that sales page out of Flask and putting it into WordPress. That'll be a very quick and easy win to allow me to do other stuff. But getting a payment page up, I don't have a way. I have a Stripe account and all that, but I don't have. There is nowhere on the internet for somebody to go and give me money right now. So that's problem number 0, I think.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm going to fix that one here in the next week with holidays and all that stuff. So.
How about you, Andre? Do you actually have an idea that you're going to be working on? I think everyone else has an idea. Do you actually have an idea or a product that you're actually?
Yes, I do. I don't know if you guys heard about codeforstartup.com.
That's right. That's right.
Code Upstart. So it's like you learn to programming by cloning successful startups. You know.
Yep.
It's like I believe this could be an advantage for me here in Brazil because like things pops up first in the US. You know. And then after like 1, 2, 3 years and so on, they arrive here in Brazil. It's like this whole coding bootcamp stuff. It arrived this year here in Brazil.
Wow.
And it's not like an American one. It's an European one. It's from France. It's called Le Wagon. So it's here in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, my city, which is Belo Horizonte, and so on. So 2016, this whole coding bootcamp stuff, it's starting to, grow here. So I believe I have this kind of advantage here. So I would like to do something like Code for Startup, but for the Portuguese audience,
I think it's a great idea. Based on those statistics you told us, that sounds like you have a crushing large audience. You could 300,000. That's awesome.
Yes. And I can do some partnership with some, Portuguese Ruby guru or Portuguese Python guru to do the course for me. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment.
Great idea.
Hey, you mentioned that there's a local group here called the Iron Yard, and I imagine they have some campuses in Europe, and I'd imagine Brazil. I mean, if you want, I can give you their contact information.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you want to partner, or you just want to go, no, screw those guys, I'm going to do my own thing. But at the very least, I imagine they'd listen to you, and if you pitch it to them right, and I have the facilities, I have this and that, and I'm sure they'd go ahead and give that to you. At the very least, they'd listen, like I said. So if you want me after this, and I can hook you up with a couple of the reps, okay?
Nice. Thanks. That would be good. Yeah, and I have an audience, because I'm blogging for quite some time. My audience right now, it's about 2,000 page views per month,
Nice.
500 page views per month. So I think it's a good audience. So yeah, I'm not consistent in blogging.
Yeah,
I have to be more consistent in blogging. And my blog is like what I want to learn or a problem I solve, I just put there. So you can find something about Oracle, middleware stuff, MongoDB, Unix, Ruby, Python. It's all mixed up, So this is not good for the specialization and niching down thing. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
I think consistency really helps. Once I started becoming consistent, my numbers skyrocketed. So I definitely agree with that.
Do you know what does best for you, Andre? Like, you look at the analytics, and do you find is it Meteor, or is it like Ruby? Like, what is the thing that people, or is it about even? Like, in terms of
yeah. My most successful blog post at the moment, it's how to set up Atom, the coding editor, as your Python development environment. So because I write in English and in Portuguese, most in English. So, and I need to go back to start in Portuguese because I want to reach the Portuguese audience also, you know.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, should I set up a domain.com.br for the Portuguese, just for the Portuguese stuff, or .com just for the English stuff? And you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm always been of the opinion that you have one domain. The fewer domains you have, the better off you are because it's the funnel, one source of traffic and one towards it. But I could be wrong on that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess what's your audience, and if your audience is going to be Brazil, and you're going to do like, that's a good question. I'm not qualified to answer. I always thought have one homepage, one place to go. But if your audience, if you know who your target audience is, and they're all in Brazil, it might make sense to actually do that.
Yeah, because like I know there is a Ruby guru here in Brazil. It's called Fabio Akira. He was just in the Ruby Rogues podcast, I think 2 weeks ago.
Cool.
And he blogs mostly in English. He sometimes blogs in Portuguese, but he's very known here in Brazil, not overseas. You know, he's known overseas, of course, but not like here in Brazil. And he writes mostly in English. So I started to think, I must follow this guy's path. So I don't know.
So my question is, with your analytics, where's your traffic coming from? Is it mostly from Brazil, and is it mostly from your articles that are in Portuguese or from English? That'd be a good way to know who your real audience is right now.
Good question. I have to take a look here.
Yeah.
Let me just open to see.
Also, with the guy that mostly blogs in English, does he have 2 domains, or is he still just doing the one domain?
No, just one domain. AkitaOnRails.com, and that's all.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
He just aggregates English and Portuguese content all together. So
That's probably a good idea.
yeah.
I think, like Terrence said, probably not a good idea to have multiple different domains going, especially if you're trying to focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, in one niche.
Right.
I'd be curious what the comments on his blog posts look like. Are people talking to him in Portuguese, or are they speaking in English?
That's a good
Because that would
question.
be
Right.
interesting to see. Yeah.
Both.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
You have guys from Brazil commenting in English. You have guys from Brazil commenting in Portuguese. So
Nice.
Then do most Portuguese or do most Brazilian programmers speak English, or is it like only a few? Or do you know like roughly the numbers in that?
yeah,
Respect.
it was worse in the past, but like people are starting to pay attention to this, you know, like to learn English, how to speak English. It's still very difficult for the majority of the guys, but yeah, things are starting to change here. You know, it's not like in India, because everybody speaks English.
Right.
In India, you know?
Right.
Like it's not like this in Brazil.
Yeah, there might also be a comfort level because, oddly enough, my team lead at work, he is Brazilian, and he's been in the U.S. for like 20 years, and he speaks English very well. But every now and then he'll get nervous and he'll say, "I don't know what the right words are," and I'm like, "Well, just say it," you know, because we're a good team and we work together well. But I've noticed that he hesitates sometimes, and I've got another guy on my team who's Indian, and he again communicates very, very well, but he will not get up and speak to a group of people unless he feels they are completely wrong about something. So yeah, that's why I was asking if folks maybe were commenting in Portuguese, because that was, you know, the comfort level, you know, like, hey, I can express my ideas more fully in my native tongue versus, you know, English.
Yeah, this happens. It's like a lot of developers here in Brazil, they can read technical stuff in English. It's not a problem. But when they start to talk, that's where the problem begins, you know? So they are just like speaking kind of a broken English.
Right.
So I believe that it's because they don't practice enough. So if you don't practice.
That is true.
Yeah.
Well,
based on
there
what
are
you're saying,
there are some companies here in Brazil that they state, oh, you can only speak English when you are in the company's office, you know? If you are going out for lunch or to grab some coffee, wherever you speak, whatever language you want. But right here inside the company speak English, and all the communication is made in English. That's a good way to train your developers. Yeah.
Well, based on what you're saying, though, I think your best bet might be to write the post in English, like just by default, like you think English first and then translate to the other languages. That way, you don't alienate your initially English audience, and you still support your Brazilian Portuguese-speaking audience. At least based on what you're saying, it sounds like, well, they have to know. Well, they typically go and know some English, and at least enough to review technical documentation. And you'd be like the sort of okay, I can understand this a little bit better. It's in Portuguese, but at the same time, you still maintain an English-speaking audience. You don't alienate your English speakers as well. So I don't know. Based on what you're saying, it'd be like do the English version and then do the
translation. Yeah, sounds a good idea. And it's like when I started to think to go back to blog only in Portuguese, I was like, man, but I'm gonna miss my English audience because I have an English audience. So
naturally. Well, you don't have to leave them.
Yeah.
Just add more.
And one thing I did, which really helped me to grow my audience, it was to start post things, my blog posts on medium.com, So I don't know, people are using Medium a lot. So
I've been looking at that. How is do you have to is it solely owned by Medium, or what is the legality there? Can you post something on Medium and then post it on your blog, or like what's Medium all about? I've seen a lot of it though.
I believe so, because I do that. I post on my blog first, and then I post on Medium, and I put a link to my blog, posted originally on andrealmar.com.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do that also.
Yeah, because it's like you are throwing your content out. So post.com from LinkedIn, Medium, your blog, and guest post. I believe everything is valid. It's a strategy.
All right, got to try that out. I know there's been this thing as of late with Google having their own special subset of HTML that you can work with to make your blog optimized for Google, and then there's an Apple one, and then there's a Facebook one, so that when you click it on your mobile device in Facebook, it shows up faster. It's getting to be like the new IE versus Firefox versus Chrome, except for you're going to have to change your HTML.
Worse.
Oh my gosh. So it's like, do I make 3 different blogs? Anyway, I don't know if any of you guys have looked at that piece of it. I looked, but I just don't want to bother. It's like, oh my gosh, really, guys? We're gonna do this again? Really? We're going back?
Yeah, I've been focusing on. There's a plugin for WordPress called Yoast, Yoast, something like that, and it'll tell you things like, hey, you need to have a minimum of like 300 words, but then it'll also go and tell you things like, hey, you're writing in a passive voice, and that's not good. And run-on sentences, basic like English grammar and syntax, and then it'll also throw suggestions like, hey, your keyword's only used 1 time in 1,000 words. You should probably use the keyword a few more times. Yeah, little things like that. It's helping with SEO, but at the same, SEO today is based off of good communication. So this is helping with communication. So I'm telling myself I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't know if I actually am, but
that's a great plugin. I use it, and
oh, cool!
It's really helped. I think, yeah.
What is it again? YOAST.
Yeah.
Yoast.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Should we wrap up because it's like 1 hour long?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Pick up a car.
We do closing thoughts, right?
Yep.
Closing thoughts for me is hustle. I need to hustle now. I have a product. It's for sale. People are buying. Now I just need to focus and actually sell it. And that's the hard part. It's actually,
like that.
Yeah. So hustle.
All right. Keep in mind the important things. and remember what is important, right? You think back to the 7 steps to seven traits of highly effective people, or whatever it is. You have the important and you have the urgent. Remember the important. Do the important. Stay to the important. Do the important. All right, that's all I got.
I'll go with action. Just you got to take action. Take action.
Yeah, I go with don't see your projects as some kind of a monster. Just grab the monster by the neck and kill them.
All right, kick his ass. All right, guys. Well, I'd say this is a pretty sweet first meeting.
Yeah.
So go ahead and stop it, and I guess send John the links. And we got everything as far as that list goes. So we're on it. I think we're ahead. I think we're team one, right?
Yeah.
Taking names. All right. So I'll send the link out to all you guys, and yeah, well, I think
awesome.
we're good.
Thank you guys for joining. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
Cool.
SEAL team for the win.
That's okay.
Nice.
We're gonna have like a like SEAL Team 6 Go or some kind of
some kind of a motto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SEAL Team. All right, cool. All right, guys, have a good one.
See you next Friday.
Okay. See y'all later.
Bye bye.